The first thing we did is we found X and Y intercepts, and then we sketched graphs based on that, all right? And so remember, to find the intercepts, you're going to zero out the other variable. So for this first one, if I want to find the X-intercept, then I am going to put a 0 in for Y. So I would have 3 times X minus 2 times 0 equals -6. What that does is that actually ends up just being, remember this is AX plus BY equals C when it's in standard form. That ends up just being the C divided by the A, because you've zeroed out the BY part of it, right? So your X-intercepts just ends up being that C, that constant, divided by the coefficient of your X. Remember, your intercept is a point. So this is the X value of your point. The Y value of your point for your X-intercept is always 0. So that's your X-intercept. You just zero out the Y. If I were to graph the X-intercept, then I would go on my X-axis to -2, and I would plot that point. To find my Y-intercept, I do exactly the same thing, but then I zero out the X. So I end up with 3 times 0 minus 2 times Y equals -6. So my Y-intercept ends up being that C value over the coefficient of my Y. This is also a point. My X value here is 0. My Y value is what I just solved for, 0, 3. And so if I plot that, I'm going to go to my Y-axis to the +3 on the Y-axis and plot that point. Once you have 2 points, you have your line. So to graph this, you're just going to connect those 2 points. So this is a 3-part question. I'm asking for your X-intercept, your Y-intercept, and I want it graphed based on those 2 points. So there are 2 basic things you could be asked about slope on this particular quiz. I could either give you a graph and ask for the slope, or I could give you points and ask for a slope, okay? If I give you a graph, you can just walk it, all right? You don't have to do your formula. Based on this graph, is this going to be a positive slope or a negative slope? Positive. Positive. From left to right, it's going up, uphill from left to right. So I know my answer is going to be positive. My numerator is represented by how far I go up or down. That's my numerator. My denominator is how far I go left or right. It actually doesn't matter which point you start at, because it's going to either be positive, positive, or negative, negative in this case, because it's going to be a positive slope. But if I start here at this far left point, to go to the far right point, I need to go up. Specifically, I have to go up 1, 2, 3. If I go up 3, that's a +3. That's my numerator, +3. I'm still not there yet. I have to go right or left, in this case, right. 1, 2 points. Right is positive, so it's going to be a +3/2. And you're just going to leave it like that. If I could reduce it, I would, but I don't want it to be a mixed number. I would have gone down 3, 1, 2, 3, so it would have been -3. And I would have gone left 2, 1, 2, over -2. Negative over negative would have been a positive. So simplified, that would be a +3/2. The other way I'm going to ask for it is with a pair of points. Now this is where you're going to do your formula. Remember your slope formula, and remember slope is your m value, is your y's subtracted over your x's subtracted. It doesn't matter which group is 1 and which group is 2, as long as both of the variables in the group have the same sub number. By that I mean, if I label this one x1, I have to label this one y1. And if I label this group 2, both of them have to be 2. All right. And then I'm just going to plug it in and solve. Y2, in this case, it's 17, minus y1, that is -19. Over x2, that's 12, minus x1, that's -10. Okay. This is just basics. Minus a negative is plus a positive, so both of those will end up looking like that. So I end up with 17 plus 19, that's going to be 36. 12 plus 10 gives me 22. All right, remember I said I need it simplified. What goes into both of those? 2, right? So if I divide those by 2, 36 divided by 2 will give me 18. 22 divided by 2 will give me 11. And that is as simple as you can get it. That is your slope. This next page deals with slope-intercept form of a line. So if you recall, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Remember, your m represents your slope. Your b represents your y-intercept. Your x and y stay variables, okay? So when they give you something like 15 and they say the slope is 2/5, the y-intercept is -5, write the slope-intercept form. They literally just want you to plug in the slope where the m is and the y-intercept where the b is. You're just rewriting that. So your answer here is going to be y equals, this is my m, 2/5 x plus, this is my b. Now, I do not want you to leave it like this, plus a minus. Plus a negative is just subtraction. So your answer will look like this, 2/5 x minus 5. For this next group of questions, I gave it to you in standard form, the way that you graphed it on the first page. I want it in slope-intercept form. To get it in slope-intercept form, you just need to get the y by itself. There's really 2 steps to getting the y by itself if it is in standard form. The first step is to move the x over, and the second step is to divide by what is in front of the y. So if I take this problem, 7x plus 4y equals 24, and I move the 7x over, to move it across the equal, I have to change the sign. So I have to subtract that 7x from both sides. On the left-hand side, it cancels out. And I'm left with just that 4y equals, and because it's slope-intercept, you want to list the x part first. So I'm going to say -7x plus 24. And then my last step to get it by itself is going to be to divide everything by that 4. So I'm going to divide every piece by the 4. On the left-hand side, I have the y by itself. You can leave the -7/4 because it will not reduce. So I have -7/4 x. And then 24 divided by 4 is 6. So that's the first question, first piece of this question. The slope-intercept form, I have done that, but it asked for 2 more pieces. It says, then I want you to list the slope, and I want you to list the y-intercept. The slope is the number in front of the x, in this case, -7/4. The y-intercept is the point, and they have given me the y value of the point. It's always going to be 0, and then whatever my b is. In this case, my b is 6. Okay, so the slope is -7/4. The y-intercept is 0, 6. All right, so this first one is actually a special case. There are 2 special cases. You can have x equals some number, and you can have y equals a number. X equals a number is going to be a vertical line at that number. Y equals a number is going to be a horizontal line at that number on the y-axis. This is x equals -5. This is a vertical line at -5 on the x-axis. So I'm going to find -5 on the x-axis. That's right here. And then I'm just going to draw a vertical line through that number. So it's just going to be a vertical line at -5. That's how you graph special cases, vertical or horizontal. All right. special cases. Most of them are going to look like 25. Graphing with slope intercept, you graph your y-intercept first, and then you walk using your slope, okay? You walk using your slope. So I am going to start at my y-intercept. What is my y-intercept? It's 0, 5. The point 0, 5 is right here, 0, 5. So I'm going to start on my y-axis at the positive 5. My slope. Well, my slope here is 3/4. For movement purposes, I can go up 3 and right 4, or I can go down 3 and left 4. Both of those movements are positive 3/4. Why would I choose one or the other? Well, let's look at the first one, up 3. What's the problem with up 3 on the graph I've been given? It goes off the graph. So there are times when you may want to move it one way or the other, okay? So in this case, I'm actually going to do this movement. So I'm actually going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to put this point right here at the point -4, 2. All right? And then once you have 2 points, you're just going to connect those to create your line. Now I can double check. Is it a positive slope? Well, yes, it's a positive slope. You can see that visually. Is it a 3/4 slope? We'll walk from the one point to the next. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it goes up 3 and over 4.